welcome to another episode of Peaked. Very excited to be back. My amazing co-host, as always, JP Noda in the cut.
What up, y'all?
Today's guest is a very good friend of mine. I'm also very excited because I did not know he smoked hash as much as we did. Nice round of applause for Billy Wayne Davis. Yes.
Clap at home.
Hola. All right, well, let's go ahead and just jump into the first one, just because you're already a big hash head. I had no idea that you liked hash.
I love flour. Don't get me wrong. I don't want emails, but it's, as a dad, it's so much easier and cleaner. Because even if you get stoned on hash, it's hard to tell. Do you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
you're not going to be, for me, especially, and I don't say this for everyone, like it's an upper no matter what strain or whatever. Like, so I'm like, it's clean. I use it during the day. I never get couch locked. And every now and then with flour, you'll get some strain that you're like, oh no,
Yeah.
I shouldn't have. I guess I'm just going to sit here till it's time to pick up the kids. There's no getting anything done. But with this, it's like, it's just a huge, and also, if we're being honest, it is the way of the future.
Yeah.
It's with federal legalization happening and the price of a pound down to $11. I mean, that's a joke, but it could be true.
It's dropping quick.
Yeah, that's why I like. It's a joke, but it's also like there's some pounds probably be going for $11. But like, and the more you learn about like terps and everything, you're just like, this is the way, and like, I can carry this everywhere.
Yeah, it was great. I had all my stuff set up, and I assumed that you didn't have when you came, but you had the proxy already ready. I was like, oh shit, this is the way. This man.
Well, I was excited too because I was like, oh, I have one, and they can teach me new stuff. So yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh,
Frank knows like a secret. Like,
do you know the
sesh mode.
secret sesh mode?
No, someone was trying to tell me about that.
All right, so you go to the highest setting, right? You go to white,
Right.
and you double tap.
Double tap.
As it's warming up, you double tap 5 times, or you tap 5 times. So you can't double tap 5 times. You tap 5 times. So see how it changes.
Now, what does this do?
So this was like what their special, like it's their highest setting.
I think
on
you
it.
explained it stays like higher, but it also might stay on for longer.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
imagine, so you can
Oh,
pass
that's
it around
what I
for
like.
a bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's not. You're right. It's not long enough to be like a.
And I like
It's
this.
almost too long sometimes to be a one session thing.
That's the crazy thing is whenever I give people this who are like, oh, I like the Puffco, I like rigs, I don't know about the proxy. I give them the proxy, and I'll put it on this setting, and they'll just rip it, and they're like, holy shit, because it rips hard.
We're doing it.
When I first taste this one as well, my first time trying actually. The strain is lemon pie-ho. I looked it up. I know what pie-ho is. It's going to be Great Pie times Tahoe OG. It was bred by the Jungle Boys and it was big here in LA. I'm assuming this is either like lemon G somewhere in that mix or lemon G times pie-ho.
I like Jungle Boys genetics too.
Yeah, it's definitely lemon G. I didn't think I liked citrus terps at all, and then we started smoking all this lemon and pineapple, and I realized I just don't like tangy terps. But on this, you're going to get that super lemon front, maybe a little bit of berry from the Great Pie,
I'm good, right?
and then just like a gas on the end, a little bit from that Tahoe OG, but it's really that lemon overpowers everything. That lemon G is like one of those terps that if you smoke it in a car, like it'll stick on your clothes, like you'll smell it, which isn't super common for hash, but like lemon terps like will stick in your shit.
Huh.
Yeah, no,
That's
it's
good to
wonderful.
know.
It smells so good though.
Yeah,
'Cause
because
I have a 13-year-old that knows.
so they're just like dad's high.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did they?
Like,
We've already had to talk. It's medicine and all that. Like, so I'm not a.
Yeah.
As he get older, he's like, you're also a pothead. Like right now, you know. What I mean?
You're dead with a medical condition.
Yeah.
But now that I'm older, I realize what you are.
Yeah, your medical condition is not as.
I have definitely noticed that it's very funny, like the people that I run into who are like not anti Puffco, but anti just like electronic, right? Because they just love glass, they love the torch. And all those guys are usually younger or sometimes older without kids. But it's like if you're just a regular dad on the go that smokes a lot, that can't, you know what I mean, have a $1,500 fucking rig.
I know a ton of growers who love hash, but because of that, like, or like in love, I've introduced them to the proxy because I've been like, have you seen the proxy? And they're like, it's like, I have the peak, but like I get in trouble for bringing it into the thing. And I was like, it's this. And you just see them be like, oh, so I'm like, you can go to the truck, you can go outside. Because I think it's a similar thing because after you smoke flower for so long, you need a little and I've learned, I had a cannabis podcast for a while about growers, but then you realize there's a shelf life and the conversation becomes the same thing over and over again, which is not a detriment to growers, but it's like comedy comp.
Yeah. They are like artists in their own right. You know what I mean?
Without
all,
a doubt. Yes.
They're all like very interesting characters.
Yes, but it's a lot of the same conversation, like comedy podcasts, where, sorry, I lost my train of thought. But what I learned,
That's what this podcast.
That's
Is.
the
Welcome to
lemon
Peak.
terps.
Yeah.
perfect. Damn, I just lost the whole thought. That's great.
Hilarious.
That being said, if I can just start to interrupt, but that now that we're like talking, it's all like lemon candy in my mouth. Like, that's where like grape pie came in now, like later. Like I didn't taste it when we were smoking it, but now that we're like talking after, it literally tastes like lemon candy, like a lemon drop, like in my mouth. And I think that's from that grape pie, from adding that super sweetness to it. That's wild, Frank.
Yeah.
That was Amberjack Farms or Amberjack.
This was given to me by the good homie Masonic. I think this was Amberjack solventless. I could call him right now.
No,
and
I
ask him.
wasn't sure who the.
Well, I want to make sure too.
Yeah,
So
no,
should I-
no, it was stellar. Yeah, why not?
You want to give him a call? All right.
He's a magician, that dude.
Yeah, Edgar's a breeder who also makes genetics and stuff. And then when certain people buy him, and then he also makes hash, like specific genetics, which I think is crazy because it's like I didn't realize there's genetics specifically for, like, if you're gonna wash a plant for hash.
Yeah,
Some things yield
like,
better.
Yeah, that like they'll do it from like trichome size to also like the way the actual nugs grow. Like surface area is key.
Yeah.
So like certain strains will have more surface, so like you can get all of the trikes out of it.
I found that like Southern Humboldt strains that grown outdoors, their terps are louder than most.
A lot of outdoor like makes some for the best hash. And a
But
lot
that's
of it,
what
I think
I
it's that
like.
full light spectrum.
And no offense, you guys that are watching this, but the flower doesn't smoke the way I care for, but the hash is out of this world.
And I think a lot of that is when you're making hash, you're fresh freezing it right away. So you're locking in all the terps when they're at their freshest. Where most of the time when we're buying outdoor or seeing outdoor, like it's already old. You know what I mean? Because it's only good for a couple months out of the year. So as soon as it starts to kind of degrade, like it's gone pretty quickly. Where I think
100%.
that hash allows it to like kind of like have a full shelf life.
And they've got those trailers with just. I love going to Southern Humboldt. It's one of my favorite places.
Beautiful.
It's beautiful, and then I'm a hillbilly from East Tennessee, and they're just hillbillies too. So they're just growing a cool plant, so I get along with them really well. And then it's so funny to see around the harvest because you'll see like trailers full of deep freezers with a generator going down this, and they're like, nah, they're just fresh. They're getting it to berry extraction as fast. It's my favorite thing to just see those. It's hillbilly shit, is what.
Yeah. It is. There was a great story I'd heard about. It's such a funny thing that you put it as hillbilly shit because it was someone who like extracts in LA who does like a very great job at like really expensive grams so they went up to the hill to talk to like a farmer about what they could do for their product and all the stuff, what they could turn it into, and they showed him like a fucking $200 gram of hash, like something crazy, like it's like, this is what we do, blah blah. And the farmer was like, oh, that's crazy. He was like, you want to do a dab? And he's like, sure. And he looks and he's like, oh, I don't have a stick. And he's like, oh, that's fine. And he looks at the ground, bends down, picks up a stick, just breaks it and brushes some stuff off and dips it in the jar of very expensive rosin and puts it in the Puffco, and then they just dab it. And he's like, oh, yeah, this is some good stuff. And the guy that was standing there was like, this is the most hillbilly shit. Like,
Yeah,
he was like, that is such a great juxtaposition of like the hill shit and then like the
Science.
Yeah.
Science.
My buddy has like stories of like early Emerald Cups, like when like high end like ice water hash was coming out, like full melt was coming out, that you had to keep it frozen and like you'd press it before you dabbed it and everything. Of like old heads going and buying like $80 half grams, like crazy shit, or like 80 insane grams of hash, and then just throwing them into a hash pipe immediately, just kind of instead of dabbing it and just kind of like watching it all melt to the bottom immediately. Wow. It's full melt. As soon as you touch heat, it's gone. You need to dab it. You got to vaporize it.
That's wild. Yeah, that full melt, once you start fucking with full melt, you're just like, oh, okay. This is really like hash and solventless. I think it really is the way to go. Puffco is well, Roger specifically always jokes about the hash agenda. But it really, I mean, he's right, because whenever I go out and smoke with people, especially like Fury now, and teaching him about hash and he's learning and stuff, it's cool to see everyone start to, I think Edgar Masonic made a good point. It was like, if you don't know about hash and stuff, you're spending $20 on, BHO or whatever, because that's all you kind of know and can afford.
Yeah.
But then there are some hash companies that are like, yeah, you can $20, $30, $40.
They're starting to figure it out, and a lot of that is with the price of the pound coming down, like you mentioned earlier. There's a lot of companies like Rosentech and a few other people are starting to bring the price down.
Why don't farmers and like it's interesting to me that they, for sure, the huge corporations are bringing the stuff down because they're selling it for less than, because they don't need to make money, but they don't talk about the hash part of it. It never get. I just find that interesting because that is also part of why the pound is going down. Is because all these young kids love hash. So you need more hash. You need more flour to make it's just an interesting part that I don't understand why it's never part of that conversation. Because I guess because it is a positive thing, they're making money off of it, but it's also like, well, we need to talk about that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because they're needing to produce more because the yields are so small to like make the hash. That definitely makes sense. And now, like a lot of these larger companies are starting to make hash, which means they're using overproduced stuff they had before, and they're like, "What do we do with it?"
Yeah.
And they're deciding to turn it into hash, or they're able to kind of figure out what to do with it. But they're all going to like the right companies, like the right washers to do it. Like a lot of people are going to Kalia, and stuff like that, and actually getting stellar.
What up, Edgar? Hello. Yeah. Hey. That gram of what was it?
Lemon pie hoe.
The lemon pie hoe that you gave me. The gram you gave me yesterday to smoke on. Who? What's the info behind that? Because they are amazing.
That's from Amberjack Solventless, I believe.
Fire.
Oh, cool. So
and
then
it's
on
it's
the
lemon
jar,
G
but
and pie hoe.
He gifted me that hash, and it's really good hash.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah. JP's blown away.
That's what's up, man. I'm glad you guys like it. That's what's up.
All right. Cool. Sweet. Thanks, man. That's all I wanted to know. All right. Peace.
Thanks, Amberjack Solventless. We appreciate you.
Thank you, Amberjack Solventless. So, I mean, you think the legal rack market still like got good hash, but I still think some of the best hash is obviously made in the underground, right?
Well, I think it's just like their access to like smaller batch like plants and like outdoor batches stuff like that. So it's going to be like higher quality going into it, so you get higher quality coming out of it. Where a lot of the people who are larger scale like might not have as much control on every step of it. So by the time the hash makers get it, like it's already like a B grade flour, like it's already been like thrown around too much, or kind of like so all the trikes are gone, or it wasn't frozen in time, or whatever. Where it's a lot of these traditional market people really love what they're doing and love their flour and their product, so they're going to take care of it every step of the way until they get it to the person who's going to wash it, so they'll make sure it's like in the right containers and everything. It's not going to be sitting on the floor in a turkey bag, and so I think that goes a long way in the final product.
Yeah, and you can kind of see it as you start to see the quality. As the people that you hang around bring like hash and stuff around, you're like, oh, this is like fresh. You just made this. Like it hasn't even what's it called? Emulsified? Is that the correct
when
term?
it separates a bit, but like it can even be like when they're still cold curing it, like it's like starting to separate, and they haven't like whipped it yet. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you'll see that too if you get like some fresh press grams and you leave them out. Like you'll watch the terps layer kind of slowly start to pull out of the solid.
I ran out of battery.
Oh, hilarious!
Well, we got another Puffco.
Yeah,
Perfect.
Can I borrow your ball cap? May I borrow your ball cap?
I didn't know what that was. Well, that could be so many things.
This is the I say this every time, and I don't think they'll. I don't think this is. I've made this dumb joke every time. So this is the ball cap. It helps with airflow. Hey, do you have one of these?
I just bought one for the thing.
Oh yeah. It helps with airflow. It wrecks you hard, and it has improved the relationship with my wife.
Oh yeah. I mean, practice does help.
Yeah. The clitoris stroke. All right.
Bro,
I got it
video games,
immediately.
dog, you got it.
Yeah. Yeah, dog. Yeah.
What do you guys think
You have
about?
170 hours in Warzone 2, bro.
You like it when I whip around, dog?
I think you got it.
Oh my God, what is that? I'm buying a loadout. That's what I'm doing.
You're like, he's coming on me. He's coming, babe.
That's hilarious.
4 guys coming.
Yeah. What happened? That's what happens when you wipe a team, dog. All right.
He uses his thumbs a lot.
Yeah. He kept screaming about extraction. It was wild. You were
Got the big backpack.
His middle finger kept hit the trigger. I don't understand what he's doing. I didn't hate it.
Fast taps.
Fast ass. What were you saying before we?
Oh, because I've been told several times because of the way I handle my tolerance, and there's a theory I have a THC deficiency is what they call it, and because when I hit like dabs and stuff, it doesn't knock me down. It just kind of I feel wonderful and makes my day. And so when I smoke like regular stuff, my whole life, I've noticed like most people will fall out, and then there's certain, and I'm just like up, like, you guys want to go play ping pong? Like, what do you like? Let's go do something.
You can still like function.
Oh, I would love to like excited about functioning.
Yeah, I mean, some people have different. I mean, right? There's people who take sativa and it calms them down.
Yep, I would think it's
That's a good
similar to like Adderall and ADHD people. I know a lot of people like who like are ADHD who like will only smoke sativas because it feels like it lines them up. And like those super energetic sativas, like the Jack Herreras, the Red Congos, like those super stimulating, like energetic sativas.
Jack's my jam.
Yeah, my first strain I ever like really remember like buying by name was Candy Jack when I was in high school. It was like from like a Santa Cruz dispensary. Had someone's like parent with a med card.
Is that where you grew up?
Bay Area, yeah. I'm
That's
from
where-
the peninsula, so like San
That's
San
why you
Mateo.
have like a degree in hash.
Yeah. The Bay Area, I credit a lot of it to like my first dispensary job. I worked at a spot called Apothecarium. And the way they talked about weed, like I like locked into right away and like really took it, I think, to the next level.
And a lot of dispensaries aren't like that. in
Not
LA.
as much, but it's kind of cool. I'm working on potentially becoming a store manager soon, and then I will hopefully have the dispensary that everyone talks like that.
But I
you
mean,
know?
I love
And
that.
that's kind of like the goal, which I think I'm really excited about.
That's like there's one near where me and my buddy used to live. He's since moved away. We were talking about it. I was like, yeah, I went over there to pick it up. And he's like, man, those people are idiots there.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah. I was like, every time they try to tell me about stuff, I'm just like, right.
A lot of it is in the Bay Area. There's a lot less dispensaries, and so it was always a very coveted job. So you got paid a little bit higher than like entry level retail, and there was like a long training process involved. At least the spot I was at, I had like a 2-week training period.
That's awesome.
Learning products and like just kind of how to teach because it was medical. So it was like how do you help medical patients? What works with people, and so like that. And then as soon as I came to LA, there was bunch of legal shops, bunch of illegal shops, bunch of deliveries. It's so competitive that it's an entry level retail job.
Yeah.
For a lot of people. So that training process isn't as much because they're not paying people to like really care as much. Which a lot of it is. You know, I mean, we're up there, like it was like even in the Bay Area where like I think minimum wage was like $16 at the time. They're like, here's $18.50. You know, so they're like, get it together. And so I think that helped a lot. But they're like down here they don't offer that. So I think people aren't as driven necessarily.
Really? So
Yeah.
there's no like hierarchy in the like. There's no way to work your way up in a cannabis company.
You can for sure, but usually like it's like if it's a corporate company, a lot of times like they might talk about hiring within, but even then they might hire someone with like a degree or whatever before they promote like like
The guy who's got
bartender.
the dude
but
who's
even
got
then
3
there
felonies.
there are those ways to work
That's
up,
an
but it's like you
insurance
have to
thing.
be like super passionate and like work, like a full-time job at that point and kind of get there.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I feel like it might have been easier like earlier on, but now that it is so much more retail, it's probably more difficult to move up now, I would imagine. Especially now that there's a lot less money in shops and stuff like that. They're probably having a hard time like justifying promoting people or paying people more right now.
Yeah, because I noticed like just the couple of dispensaries I go to, there's a lot of change.
Turnover.
Yeah, a lot of
happens a
turnover
lot.
with the
Yeah.
people. Yeah. So that's why I was just curious about that. And then I also noticed like I lived in LA for I guess 8 or 9, 10 years almost. And I lived in Seattle before. So like the West Coast, like none of it was but so when I moved here there were dispensaries everywhere.
Yeah, you could like, bro. I mean, I remember
Everywhere.
signing up for every new patient special.
Yeah.
That
And
was
just
a fun
cleaning
jam.
up.
Going to each
That was
side.
just.
I forgot all about that.
Bro, I mean, I was also so poor as a comic at that time. Like, it was like, oh, this is sweet. I just have weed for months now.
There's you had to be smart, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But like something changed, and then it was like they were all gone overnight, and there was like 4, and they were the same ones. It was fascinating. Like I'm sure it was a political thing, without a doubt. And then I was part of a jury duty thing and they called it the last cannabis case in L.A., I was quickly dismissed because when they let me talk.
Yeah.
It's like I'd sat there for 3 days. I was like deep in the jury pool, and I was like,
And then they asked you a question.
I was like, they were like, "What do you do for a living?" And I was like, "I'm a stand-up comedian." And like the whole room turned, and I was like, "Here we go." And then they asked me if like, "What's your position?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm very pro cannabis." And I was like, and the way what they had set up too, it was like obviously some political.
Yeah.
It was all political. The trial was political. It was like 3 Mexican ladies that were like poor people, and they had pro bono people defending them and all this stuff. And I was like, well, this is obviously political. I was like, this is a zoning thing. I was like, there aren't rich people in here. I was like, and you know, if you want to get into, we can get into Citizens United, where like I can get on this jury and I will tank this thing. Like, and then the guy was like, move to dismiss number 3.
You're like, I got a weekend off
And then
now.
the judge is like, I kept talking, and the judge was like, that's enough. And then the defense attorney, he said, I will agree to remove juror number 45 if he'll tell us where he's performing next.
No way.
As I was walking out, I was like, thank you very much. I was like, I'll be at the Hollywood Improv on Thursday night, blah, blah, blah. And like 2 people came. 'Cause they were like, that was awesome. Like, you really made some like great points about, and I was like, well, I was trying to taint everybody else in that thing. And that judge knew it. And that dude, they recognized what I was doing. I was just kept saying stuff and just stuff that would like, here's what they're doing. This is what this is. It's a zoning thing, but this is political. These people aren't making any money. They're pushing them out. And that's when the guy was like, stop talking.
Please, dear God, no, stop. What are you doing? No.
Yeah, the prosecutor was like, shut up.
He was like, wait, no.
Nope. And the judge was like, that's enough. And I was like, you're in on it too somehow. I didn't say that, but I was like, you're in on it too. This is all shady. It was great. It was that. And then I thought, well, I'll never get jury duty again, like for sure. Like, and then I got a summons on like Christmas Day or the day before. It was like, hey, and Jane, next year you get. I was like, I hope it's another fun one where I get to talk, because that's what you can tell people are lying. It's a show. I go in a little stoned. It's a whole thing.
Yeah, I always like. I've been to like when you actually like pay attention, like jury selection, all that stuff. You start to realize I was like, oh man, this can't be the most fairest way to tell if someone's guilty or innocent. You know what I mean? Like it's like jury, your peers, but there's tricks and you got to make. You know what I mean? You're like,
I had a DUI go to a jury one time.
Really?
That's a terror. I didn't realize that's what was happening. You know what I mean? Like, this was. I don't drink anymore. I haven't drank for like 10 years. And this one was like real iffy. Like we had, you know what I mean? I was like, I wasn't hammered, and it was like they did some things wrong. I did some things wrong. It was like one of those. And that's when you realize, like, when it goes to jury like that, like you stop being like, this is going to be 12 people that understand things and blah, blah, blah. Where you hope what it is 12 people that understand what is happening.
Yeah.
Not like are smart, like that understand how the courtroom works. That's what you want. And then you were really literally just working them is what you have to do. And when people are like, oh, that's cynical and stuff, and you're like, no, it's not. It's the way, it's a system. It's not magic. So you have to, it's so real and true. It's like a game.
I mean,
you have to go get the guy. Also, this is, and weed people know this too, is like everything else, and you don't think about this, some people can just get through law school. You're not magic if you get through it. There's some terrible lawyers.
I mean, you know, there's doctors who graduate at the bottom of their class.
People do not think about that.
Yeah.
So you need to go to the person that what they do is DUI stuff. That's who you go to. If you're in trouble for marijuana, you go to the normal person, and that's what they do. It's a little more for a reason. It's the difference between the feature act and the closer. Like, wow, that last guy was really good. Yes, he's put a little more time in. He knows the thing. It's terrifying.
Yeah, like it probably is scary to have your marijuana lawyer dress up in a fucking full marijuana leaf suit.
You don't want that.
But you know what I mean? He'll get you off.
Yep. Because he went to he plays golf with the judge.
Yeah, he
It's
does.
all works like that too.
Oh, absolutely.
And my advice is just stay away from the justice system as much as you can,
Yeah.
because it doesn't matter if you're winning. You still lose.
I mean, there's been so many documentaries about people that have like just gone to jail and like weren't convicted of a crime. They just detained them and then they like get stuck in the system for like months or years. And you're just like, that's crazy. Someone just got shuffled in. They're like, yeah, we know about it, but there's nothing we can do.
I was in for some nonsense one time because I was fun in my 20s, and there's a reason I just use cannabis now. And one time it was like in Seattle, and there was this mean Thai guard. And Seattle's like, the jail was like, it's like 5 or 6, 12 stories. So you're like, it was just when, it's a jail. So like when you're getting arrested, I knew I'd be out in like 24 something hours or whatever. But you're also like, man, there's no real escaping a high-rise jail. There's no bow.
Yeah, would you
Dude,
scale
stuff.
down the wall?
Yeah, there's but what happened is this Thai guy, he didn't say my name right. So I missed the first morning thing. So I'm in there like 12 or like probably 24 hours longer than I needed to be. And they sent a bailiff that afternoon to come find me. And I'm just sitting in the same cell with all these guys like I had been. And he's like, so I get in there and the bailiff's and we're going into where the court is, and it's just me and him in this elevator. And he goes, man, where you been? We've been looking for you. And I just stared at him like, really? Where have I been?
Yeah. the place you put me?
And I've been like, I don't know. And he was like, oh yeah, that's like, he was kind of funny. He was, but it was just like, oh man, this is. And then so I went and got my thing in the bail or whatever they set, and then you can call. There's like a thing. So I just read the instructions and stuff, and I started using it. And then I noticed all these dudes started like hanging around until I was done. And I was like, this is weird. And I was like, I don't know the courtesy or what. And then this aggressive dude was just like, how you do that? I was like, oh, you just follow these instructions right here. And he was like, yeah, how's you? And then it hit me. I was like, oh, you can't read. Okay. And then I listened more, and I learned that they had just changed the system. So these are dudes that are in and out.
Oh.
Who had learned how to use the phone, but then they changed the system. And I was the first one that came in that kind of read everything and was like, you do this, and I called a bail bondsman, blah, blah, and they got me. But I showed. And then after that, everyone was super cool. I didn't talk the whole time I was there, so people were unsure of me.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I'm not going to make friends while I'm here.
Yeah.
And then, so I just kind of watched and sat in the corner. And then, let my hair look all crazy. It's like Greyhound rules. Where
Yeah, you got to look as crazy as possible so everyone will leave you alone.
That's the system. And then everyone got real cool with me after that. Because I was just
like it's the guy that can read.
It was literally, and then
it's the guy.
First it made me laugh, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, that's why they keep coming in here. This is a messed up.
No. It is a huge. You're like, it is a huge fucked up problem. Because also with, like, I have family members have gone to jail and then like gotten fucked with when it comes to like getting bail or things getting set, or also calling family or putting money on your card and all this, and the system's constantly changing. And it is not built to help or make it easy for people that come from a system of like lack of education or like, neighborhoods that are like, underfunded, especially coming from like the Bay Area. Like I've seen a lot of that. So you're just like, oh, that is why we are stuck in this crazy loop and a trap.
Yeah.
Because like you don't make it easy for any of us.
Yeah. I mean, and I was on probation for a little bit, and my probation officer and I would talk because I was very different than most of the people that he dealt with.
Yeah.
And he pointed that out one day. It was also crazy. Dress up. When you go do those things, just dress up. That's the most amazing part is like walking in court or any of those things. What people wear, it's like just show just this much respect. For that will get you this much more. During the DUI process, we were doing the hearing part. There's a bunch of people in the courtroom doing their thing, and there was a guy behind us It's me and my DUI lawyer, who I'm still friends with. She was great. She used to hang out at the store when she lived in L.A.
A lot of DUIs there.
Yeah. She lives in Washington State. She moved away. Yeah, she's like, I had to get out of there. I was like, I understand.
That house probably paid for by comedy.
Sure. Yeah, she's awesome. She's awesome. And there was a guy behind us, and just like just this ratty button down that was open, and then jeans that were just not like fashion jeans, just holy jeans. And then he had a giant, it was just a black shirt, and it said, "Beer, it's what's for breakfast."
And it was at a DUI thing?
Well, there were different cases.
Okay.
So like he was behind us. He was behind us. Your mind is exactly like mine. And so we pled not guilty. And she was like, "Okay, we knew." I was like, "Hold on, I just want to." And she was like, "Yeah, we do. I do want to see what his charge is." And it was DUI, and he had that. And then he's just like, "Not guilty." The judge just shook her head. It was like amazing. It was like magic. And I was like, I get why you like doing this. She was like, it's never boring. I was like, it's never boring.
It never. Yeah. If you ever get a chance, there's people. Some people just go and they just like watch it, and it's like that's so crazy. Because but it's also very interesting. Someone's like, it's my civic duty. It's like, I mean, sure, but watching crazy people's fun.
The lawyer part's interesting because the way they communicate is different. I've had to do some family law. I've had an interesting life so far. As a comedian, my 20s were about like a lot of decisions were made. We're like, what's the worst that could happen? And then the universe is like, really?
Like, we can show you.
Okay. And then you're like, I didn't even know that was an option. Sorry. But like family law stuff, like the way they communicate is interesting because they communicate to the judge in different ways. Because I have some friends that are lawyers that I grew up with, and I said it early on. I was like, so basically you're learning a different language is what it is. And they just kind of grin and like, yep, that's what it basically, I mean, there's certain, like regional dialects. That's what they're broken into. But like certain types of law is like different language, which is fascinating to me. And because they've set the law up in a different language, they're these weird gatekeepers like what Masons used to be. So we have to pay them more money.
Because look, we speak lawyer.
That's it.
Yeah, we speak justice.
And we also drink and party with other people that speak lawyer.
Yeah. And they do so much drugs.
It's, what the lawyer's favorite drug is? What? Whippets.
Wild. The what? Why?
Because they're gone out of your system so fast and the high is very quick. So lawyers love that shit. I've had multiple lawyers tell me that, and I didn't bring it up. Just one of those are like, oh, okay.
That's fucking wild to me, of all things.
That's what I was like,
Well,
because
also,
I was going to go with Coke immediately, because they all drink so much, because it's hard what they do. It's boring. It's a lot of reading.
Cut your lawyer at like a fucking Juggalo festival.
Jesus. It's also, you know who else parties insanely hard that I've realized through comedy and traveling? Teachers.
Yeah. My parents are both teachers.
Really? What do
They
teach?
weren't, they were they're retired now, but they were like, they didn't party, but I do know they're nurses too.
Yeah. When they go on like teachers retreats or whatever, they are all going crazy. I was in San Diego.
Horny too.
So horny.
Crazy horny.
I was in San Diego
Uncomfortable.
at a comedy show, and they had like a teachers convention, and it was literally like the pool was just full of like teachers, young teachers, older teachers. I'm pretty sure there's two teachers making out in the hot tub. I'm pretty sure they were not married to each other.
No, it's like
One was a history teacher, one was a mathematics professor, and they were just going at it, and it was just like,
there's a lot of affairs.
Yeah.
Because they spend a lot of time and
Yeah. What's this?
and they don't make money.
They do not make money.
Is it the ABX one?
Yes.
It's going to be the grapples from ABX. It's going to be grape gas times shit, I have it written down. It's totally is what it is. It's grape gas times holy fuck am I?
Damn, I think
It was those lemon turps where I told you lemon
It's
turps
great.
fuck me up, dude. Sativa turps are new to my palate.
I think this is a podcast first.
These ones will fuck me up too, bro. It's a grape gas times apple pie. The apple pie is sour apple and Slimer. You're getting hit with sativa all the way through this thing besides the grape gas. So for me, the Slimer's train wreck, and then the apple pie is Cindy 99 and Diesel. So it's literally just, for me, like a little bit of a sweet Diesel taste to it. But then the effect is like immediately uplifting, crazy euphoric, very spacey. Like I smoked it last week before we hung out with Carm for our episode, and I like stopped talking.
Yeah, it was funny because I remember I showed it to you and I was
I
like,
got
hey,
stuck, bro. I couldn't.
we were going to try this. You're like, all right. And you looked at it and you're like, apples. Okay. And then you did it and you were like, holy shit, I'm fucking ripped.
Yeah, like after the podcast, I was like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely, for me, it tastes a lot like sour Diesel. There is some sweet grape in there a little bit, but it's straight sour Diesel, and there's almost that peppery finish that you would get from a Jack, but I think that comes from the Cindy 99 that's in that sour.
He's right.
That Diesel, yeah, so there's a little bit of pepper on the end.
There is a little pep, yeah.
Yeah, but I think that's from those skunk curbs.
But it's stout because you're right. It hits you quick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just immediately, like, your eyes will open a little bit, and that's that train wreck, that Slimer. For me, it's like one of the gnarliest sativas. That and like Red Congo, like you immediately feel them, and you're like, "Oh shit, that's a shot of coffee."
I'm going to my 4-year-old and 13-year-old are taking their first skateboarding lessons today.
Whoa. Were you a big skateboarder?
No,
No.
I grew up. My dad's a football coach.
Oh,
so
okay.
It's like,
Did you play sports growing up?
yeah, I played everyone that, like, whatever season. That's what I did. Was like basketball, football, that kind of stuff. And then in high school, I played football and baseball, and then played a little bit of college baseball. And then you realize, like, I'm gonna play professionally, and then you realize like what that really means, and you're like,
Oh, yeah.
it sucks.
Dude, one of the guys that I went to high school with, I think ended up getting drafted to like a major league like farm team.
Mm-hmm.
Like in that system,
Yeah.
right out of high school, and then I think he quit after that.
Yeah.
Because it was like that level of like athleticism, like AAA and AA, all that stuff. Like it is insane. Like even the top of all the tops coming out of like colleges and schools, they usually don't go. Like it's such a
It's
small.
crazy.
It's insane.
My dad also told me, I don't know how true it is now, but he was like, you could be on a AAA team and still have to work a full-time job to like make your rent.
Now my
Yeah.
buddy was on he never made it. A dude I played with a lot, and he had this desire to play that I didn't have, like, that's what it takes to. And then because he was probably a little more gifted than I was athletically, but not like a tremendous amount, but loved it in a way that I still don't. And I love baseball, but that's what you also realize, like, these are
This is the people that,
lunatics.
yeah. These are the people that, you got to be
And
fucking insane.
He made it to AAA. He was like an all-star. Never made it. Never got brought up. But like, never had any money. My man never. And he would go play. But also a lunatic. Like, because we get to travel. That's part of why I like being a comedian. Is why it appealed to me early on. Is like I like to travel. That's why I like playing in college too. You travel a lot.
Yeah.
But then he was like, yeah, I played in Austria for a while. And I was like, cool. Like, that country is like beautiful. He's like, yeah, there's some cool baseball fields there. And I was like,
I was gonna say earlier, those are the guys who collect infield dust from every stadium. You know, like,
and he became a star in Australia for a little bit. It's not huge there, but it's like he was like they love the shit out of him.
He was like, I was crushing Australian puss all the time.
That's why he had to leave, I think, because he did leave one day, and he's like, I can't go. I'm not going back. And I was like, motherfucker, you were like a star there. But then I started thinking about like, oh man, he loves pussy, like in a way. You know those friends where you're like, oh man,
yeah.
oh yeah, because as you get older, like, you know, everyone's horny in high school and college.
There's people that stay horny forever, dog.
Yes,
Yeah.
and then you're like, oh, this is like an issue. When you first start hearing about sex addiction, you're like, well, everyone's kind of horny, you know. And then you get older, and you're like, no, I got some friends. It's like a thing.
My dad's that guy. Like I
Good for him.
I have a joke about it too, because there was, my dad. I remember, like, last year my dad like kind of like really realized he wanted to cut back on drinking and like stop altogether, and he's definitely cut back a lot. But there was like a moment where he was like drunk. We were like talking. He was like, and it was definitely like at the point in our life, I was like, oh, this is the most like realist we've ever gotten. Like we've like really having a heart to heart. Like I'm not gonna like back down. I'm gonna like ask you like tough questions to figure out like what it is about. You know what I mean? Like you're asking me stuff.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna give you like an honest answer now. You know, I'm fucking 30 and shit.
You gotta have that.
You gotta, you know, there's definitely a point where you're like, oh, I'm gonna have, what's the
But
worst?
as
gonna
the
happen,
dad,
you know?
I try to be pretty open about everything, especially as a comedian. There's stuff he can find online now
Yeah.
where it's like, and I'll be like, well, this is this or this, and or the other day he tried to make some joke about cocaine, and I was just like, that's a bad one. Don't, like, all your friends stay away from. Just like other times I'll joke with him about stuff, but just being, I found if you're just like real about that stuff, they're like, oh, okay, well,
Oh,
I
you're
guess
like, oh,
that one's
shit.
bad.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, this one's all right to mess with, and you're like, no, because like my dad didn't do anything, so it was just like, don't do stuff.
Yeah, my dad was like, had a lot of fun. Yeah,
It's so fun. And
he
then we're
had
both here.
a lot of fun. And so, yeah, I remember we were talking. He was like, he was like, I don't like doing it. He's like, I just do it because like he's like, I just drink because I get lonely. You know what I mean? And then there's people that I talk to. He's like, most of the time I don't even like. He's like, I don't really like these people. You know what I mean? It's just kind of like other lonely people. I was like, yeah, man, exactly. And then there's like a moment where he just kind of has like he stops, he thinks, and has like a nice like moment of self-reflection. And then he was like, yeah, I don't like fucking all these women there either. You know what I mean? Like they just, it's just empty. It's just, these hoes that I'm just fucking. And I was like, all right, man. Like, okay.
I did open the door. I did.
Like,
You walk through it
yeah, man. All right.
with all them hoes.
That sucks too, dog. I guess I know exactly how that feels. I was like, Jesus Christ, Pops. This man's almost 60. I told him, I was like, eventually, like, my dream is to make enough money or be successful enough to have like a spot in the back for him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I just want him to live. I want my dad to die in my living room. I want him to be around. You know what I mean? I want him to be around. Yeah. And he was just like, if you do, he was like, it's got to have a side entrance and a wheelchair accessible ramp.
man.
And I was like, yeah.
Park in the back.
You're like, Dad, you're not politically correct. Oh, gross.
Yeah. He's like, I'm getting older. So are they.
That good for him knocking, taking one for the team sometimes, I think.
I even had the trust. There's no taking one for the team. He's trying to fucking win championships. I'm
So
always.
he can't turn it off and that. Whew. Do you like I'm 41 and around 37, 38, I could feel it slow down. It's still got, you can't turn it off.
No,
But like almost 60, I do know some dudes like that, I guess. That are still horny
there's
like
some
that.
guys that are just still, they still got it. Yeah,
They
it's
love
so
that's the
weird.
thing though. But they love like I enjoy the flirt part of it.
Of course, the chase is always fun, right? Always
But
flirting, being,
But I always and I tell people about this because they're fascinated that so you're like on the road and you don't cheat, and you're like, God, no, God.
Oh, who wants to fuck those people?
It's just like, no. And even if okay, let's think about this. How many one night stands have you had? Everyone's had it.
Recently? No.
Yeah.
Me and my wife.
I got him in trouble on the podcast. He doesn't watch this.
So before I dated, hilarious.
That was great.
Before I dated and married my wife, there was I think it was 18 to 21 maybe is when I was I moved out of my parents' house. I had 2 good jobs. I worked in bars and restaurants. And that was
two horny places.
and that's where that was where a lot of my sexual experiences happened.
Yeah.
And I had a few one night stands, but it was always
They don't go well.
they don't. But it was never with a stranger. It was very rare that I had sex with a stranger.
Yeah.
It was always someone that I'd met or someone that I knew or a friend of a friend. There was you know what I mean? It was
Proximity.
yes,
Yeah. Yeah.
there was conversations.
Yes.
But yeah, you're right. And then sometimes they don't pan out as full relationships. Sometimes you're just oh, this was a fun thing we did. But a true one night stand where it was a stranger. Yeah, they never feel great.
It's weird.
You're oh, I don't know anything about you know what I mean? We're both trying to get
Our
this
parts
thing
don't
done.
fit right.
Yeah, this is
Yeah. And then like that's what you like the flirting and the whatever. Like my wife and I are even fine with that. Like because in Hollywood it's like part of business,
yeah.
which is a weird thing to like acknowledge, not say out loud, but like have to accept
No.
when you move here.
I told I mean, Hannah's praying I run into a female Harvey Weinstein. You know what I mean? She's like,
My wife has said that if you have to eat someone out, and I was like, I don't think it works like that.
she was like, if you gotta watch a director, you gotta watch a producer squirt into a fucking bush in their office, you fucking do it. I was like, I'm taking my wife to Europe.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. My IMDb is gonna be great. But it's like that. Like if you like the flirting part, but if you really think through, that always makes me laugh. Even when like it's like obvious sometimes after shows where sometimes women are like, "I'm down to do stuff with you,"
Yeah, and
and you're like, "I understand," and then you're like, sometimes they're attractive, and sometimes they're like, "Okay, let's entertain this thought honestly. What happens? We have to make this happen. We have to leave here. You have to know where I'm staying.
Yeah.
I don't like that immediately."
or I got to go to your house and I'm stepping on toys. You know what I mean?
Oh, there's no.
You know what I mean? Or you're single, or you just, you know what I mean? Like I'm passing by, there's like family
roommates,
pictures. You know what I
there's a
mean?
lot
Like
of stuff.
there's a lot of things you have to. I've heard stories of people fucking on the road that are just single, and it's like even then, like it's the act of fucking someone. Like when you were single, like yeah, you had to you were going to a stranger's house. You know what I mean? You're like, I hope no one's gonna kill me, but there might be pussy at the end of this.
That's
so you're like,
it's so dangerous. That's that kind of even when you're in the town.
yeah.
Like if you're in your hometown and you're like, I'm gonna go hook up with this girl, maybe at her house, blah blah. That's dangerous.
Yeah, you find out her brother went to high school with you like 3 years ago, and you're like, that guy didn't like me.
I had to arm wrestle a guy one time in Yakima, Washington. And then in the middle of it, it was like one of those where I'm like, oh, I have to let him win. Because at first I thought we were kidding, kind of. And then in the middle of it, you're like, oh, I'm in a
strange place surrounded by people who I don't know, and they all
Yeah.
know this guy.
and this guy, they're all showing this guy like fear, respect. That's when and you're like, okay, we let him win. And then we slowly get out of this situation.
Yeah, that's the thing, especially as comics when you like go different places. You're just like, oh yeah, these are strangers in a strange town. I'm like, you know, I remember.
You're a toy.
Yeah. I'm just traveling.
We're all
circus clown.
toys for them that night.
I remember I was in a
Part of some weird hillbilly foreplay.
so I have a story where I talk about going to I was on the road with Pauly Shore, and he told me, he was just like, whatever you do, don't go to anyone's house after shows. Like, and this is when I was young into stand up and like still like I'm
and
excited to
his
be on the
crowd
road.
Is horny. and weird.
Yeah. So we were in, I think it was North Carolina.
That's not out of place, I don't think.
No, it isn't. They're a bunch of weasels.
Yeah.
They like to get squirrely.
They do. He's a horny man.
After the show, they're like, we got weed in my house. So I was talking about not having weed. And then we end up in literally like 10 miles off the road, fucking middle of nowhere, in like the woods. It's a cul-de-sac of houses. They all know each other because they all live around each other. And we're all in this basement hanging out, partying. And I'm just like, there's one chick and there's like 5 dudes. And like, I was like, she was making out with this guy, and that like they're obviously married and they were at the club, but now they're all dancing together. And she's like flirting and touching this guy. And I was like, I don't know what's going on. And I don't think I like this anymore, and I want to leave. And then like me and my boy just dipped. I was like, oh, this is fun. I was like, oh, yeah. But it's and another fucking time we were in another small town. I think it was South Carolina. And I remember being there.
These aren't one-offs, you guys. This is what happened.
This is what happened. So why would you want to fuck any of those people?
No.
So yeah, I remember we were at a bar. Or no, it was like a restaurant, and it was such an old school town where, you know, they have the saying of like wrong side of the tracks, right side of the tracks, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
That was literally this town. Like,
Yep.
there was still to the point where like on the other side of the tracks was everyone that wasn't white.
Yep.
And the other side was all white and very like nice and blah, blah, blah. And like,
And that's not specific to that place you were at.
no, it is. Well, I mean, it's very
There's a lot
yeah.
There's a lot of places like that.
Yeah, exactly. It was, but the guy was telling me about it, and it was during the Trump and, when he was first getting elected for president. So there was a lot of stuff happening politically. Woo. So it was such a wild spot to be. And
that's when assholes were like empowered.
Yeah. So check this out. They were all very like, I remember talking to the guy, and he was like, "You're the only Mexican here in town," and I was like, "That's wild that you told me that."
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? That everyone else is counting.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah, isn't that
You
wild?
are.
You're the only one here. And I was like, ugh.
You're like, well, I
So-
didn't know it was till now.
Yeah, I was like, I didn't notice that till just this moment, and now I'm very high and very aware of it. But I remember
Is
talking.
this after the show?
This was like the guy was showing us around, and we were like eating.
Okay.
Right, and we were talking, and the guy goes, "This is." I was like, "Is this like?" I was like, "Is there like a liberal part of town?" He goes, and everyone laughs, and he goes, "This is the most liberal part of town." I go, "This building," and he goes, "This table," and then like 2 minutes later, he drops an N-bomb.
I was gonna
Right?
say, like,
And then I was just like, "Oh, this is pretty liberal," but you're still like, I was like, "This is crazy." But I remember talking to him. I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna go check out this shop," and he goes, "Yeah, I wouldn't go there by yourself." And I was just like, "What do you mean?" He was like, He's like, "They'll be nice." He's like, "You probably want to go with one of us or blah blah." They're just like, you're gonna get fought. Like it's not they don't like. You should just stay here.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh shit." Yeah, it was a wild spot, dude.
yeah, no,
Some of
that's-
those places are
South
just,
Carolina especially, and then like there's like that part of Georgia that touches like that area is bad.
yeah, man.
Is bad.
I remember I went out with a pretty big comic. He was in Indianapolis, and everyone was taking pictures afterwards. And then like these big old white guys came and took it. They're like, "You're so funny." And I was like, "Thanks, man." We took pictures together, and afterwards, and the headline comes up to me and he goes, "Those were white supremacists." And I was like, "How do you know?" And he goes, I know."
Yep.
And he was like, "Yeah." And he was like, "Trust me, those are KKK guys." And I was like, "Well, they fucking loved me, dog."
Yep. Indiana.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, they thought I was hilarious.
Indiana's yeah. Well, the South gets a lot of shit because of, rightfully. But what I realized when I left the South, because I was like, God, I'm enough of this.
Yeah. At what point were you like, I gotta get the hell out of here?
Oh, I was always, and I don't think it was because I think I knew that my small town that I wasn't going to live there. Like, I knew that early. Like, I liked traveling really early on, and like, I didn't know where. I just wanted to go see stuff. And then there was that element of like this racism and that kind of dumb that kind of was like saturated in a way where I was like, I want to get out. And then, I went to Nashville, and you're like, oh, still here too. You know what? Your perspective. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
So you're
You're
like,
like,
well,
huh.
man, I'll go to the city, and the city will be better. And you're like, oh no, this is. And then started traveling a little bit, and I thought Atlanta was cool, but there's still a lot of racism there. But Atlanta was cool because it was like the first place where it was like black people could be people. Do you know what I mean? Where it's like there's a middle class of black people, and like I remember being like, this is cool. Like this seems cool. And then there's also the worst white people on the planet live there too. So it's like this weird mix. And then so I was like, God, it's even in these cities, it was like frustrating and then I moved to Seattle and was like, cool, this is gonna be this liberal utopia that I think it's gonna be. And then you realize, like, it's not. Like, this is, like, capitalism here, where you can be anybody you want to be as long as you've got $250,000 in the bank. Like, that's where that freedom came from. And then I started doing these gigs outside of Seattle. And I don't know if you guys are aware of, like, where Idaho and some of those places are. And then I was like, oh. I called my dad because I would remember seeing, like, a Confederate flag. Like in eastern Washington. I was like, and my dad's a Civil War guy. He was a history teacher and stuff. So I was like,
Wait, Civil
hey,
War guy?
what? Like, I was like,
Which
what?
side or, no, I'm just kidding.
No, well, and this is talk about being proud of something you can't control, but our ancestor fought for the Union because he lived in Kentucky. We were like, woo, all right.
You're like, thank
He
God.
was poor, so he's just doing what they had to do anyway. But thank God he was on the right side of that border.
You're like, this story could have went a different way.
Yes, it could have. Lot and then we could talk about the Civil War being like a lot of just poor people being made to fight.
Yeah. Which isn't that just,
The way.
yeah, isn't that just like the way through history?
Yeah. where you're just like, I don't know if it's as much racism as that they had to or they were going to die.
Yeah.
That's a lot of it. It's fucked up. But then when I left, like, I called my dad and I was like, a lot of rebel flags up here in Washington State. He's like, nah, the Civil War didn't go up there.
Yeah.
He's like, I was like, that's no heritage stuff, is it? He's like, no, that's straight up hate stuff. Because every now and then you'll meet a confused Southern person that their family fought for the Confederacy or something, and you're like, I understand the family pride or whatever, like where you come from, but like that flag, just let the hateful people have it.
Yeah.
Because and I think Roy Wood Jr. has a bit. I had a bit very similar. His got on TV quicker, so I had to stop doing it. But it was more powerful coming from him. But it was like when they started getting rid of the Confederate flag, I was like, "It's a bad idea, you guys. We need to know who those people are, and when they wear that flag, we know who they are. And when you make them go away, we don't know what they're up to.
Yeah.
So we need to know who they are because they're not going to stop being hateful.
They're just going to put that stuff in a room in their house deep inside. Yeah. You know what I mean?
And then get madder and it's going to explode.
Yeah.
I was like, but then Trump came along and threw them all red hats. And we're like, oh, there they are. They love red.
Jerron Horton had one of the funniest, he's from Atlanta, Georgia. And he had one of the funniest bits about the Confederate flag. And it was that he was just like, it sucks. He was like, I don't like it. I hate it. And he was like, but I think we can all agree that color scheme, so cool. He was like, it looks good. You know what I mean? He was like,
you can do a lot with it.
He was like, graphically, it's a solid flag. He was like, but it means so much. It's terrible. But he was like, I got on a coat and I'm like, damn, that looks fire. You know what I mean? Bro, I was howling so hard. He was
fire.
So funny, dude. Man, he's one of my favorites, dude. I miss him. He's still alive. He's just got a kid now. Doing great.
Yeah. He's like, well, and
so yeah, he's chilling. He's got a nice house. You know, his wife and got a kid. Yeah, dude. Why would
a bull terrier?
Yeah, he got a beautiful dog. Yeah,
I have a house I like, and my wife is like, why don't you go out? And I'm like, it's everything. I go on the road a lot, so when I'm home, like, I'll go do sets.
I'm just getting to that point too. Me and my wife are gonna be moving to a nicer spot, closer to her work, past the 405.
Yeah, it's a lot because I haven't lived in nice spots for a long time.
Yeah. Further away from the store, and I told someone, and they were just like, "Oh, that's like you might as well move to Austin. Like you're not gonna be around, dog. Like you're retiring." And I was like, "What do you mean?" He was like, "You got your PlayStation 5, you got all of your cats, you got a nice little spot with you and your wife. She's gone all the time for work, and it was like, and you could go and do stand up, but he's like, you're just gonna
why?
Yeah, why?" And I was like, "Oh, yeah, that's true.
It is.
I just gotta make sure the house is
It's
clean."
gonna be 45 minutes to the store.
No, it's gonna be like 23.
Yeah,
Because at night.
that's LA, Frank.
That's true.
It depends on because it's like 45 where I live.
405
and I
is
live
always
just on
fucked.
the east side. Yeah. But like, he's right. It's common. It's like certain nights it is like 20 minutes, and then other nights are like, oh, it's an hour and a half.
If my spots are later than 8, it's gonna be 25, 30-minute drive.
Yeah, that is nice. How is the store?
I mean, I still love it. It's fine. I was there last night. I had
I always have fun when I'm there. It's just like
it's the best, dude. It's a good hang too now. So everyone like if you had, all right, so I'll just tell you about my night last night. I got to close out the main room. It was a midnight spot, but it ran late, so I didn't get up till I think 12:15, 12:30. So it's the Sam Kinison spot was what they call it, right? Packed room. Everyone was still laughing. Everyone was still on board. They were down to be there.
I was gonna say 12:30 on a Friday night sounds like the prime.
It was
prime
still
in
great,
Hollywood.
dude. And the show starts at 10:30. Didn't really start till 10:40. And even though it was like 10, 15 minutes behind, they like usually people get tired or they dip, but you could tell they were like, "Oh, you guys are here to laugh. You guys want to stay to the last one." And they stayed for I did 30 minutes. They stayed for the full 30, and it was like a breeze, dude. It didn't feel like I was like struggling or like having to like. They were all there. I watched them all closed out. They still stayed, and I was like, "Okay, you guys are like
Comedy people.
yeah." And it's very like the shows still sell out. I mean, all the big guys left, but you know.
But like you're talking about like Rogan and
all those big Berts, and you know they'll come back. They, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But it's also just the change of time, and all the young guys that were late night are all starting to move down.
yeah.
So there's a new cream of the crop rising up. So it feels good. It's definitely a new era. A lot of the worst producers are gone. A lot of the terrible comics that were just kind of like hanger-oners or like didn't quit.
I
Finally,
will
quit.
say, from an outsider's perspective, the vibe there is nice.
It's chiller.
And for a while, it was not, and I mean like for years. When I say a while,
Yeah,
it was like tough.
yeah.
Even around people you love and like, the vibe around that was still
It's
harsh.
so chill, and
But
it's
like
so
the last
funny.
3 or 4 times I've been, I'm like, this is not something. I don't know if you've saged this or what y'all did, but like the vibe is clean.
It feels like a woman's running it again. You know what I mean? And I think that's how it should always been. I think Mitzi's lineage should always be that the talent coordinator should be a woman at the store.
That's
you know what I mean?
That's an interesting point.
I mean, and don't get me wrong, there's nothing against Adam Egan
No.
or Tommy or all those. I mean, there's a lot against Tommy, but a lot of like
Yeah.
a lot of those male talent coordinators, like they're still great. But I think it definitely takes a woman to do what that. I mean, that's what Mitzi did. She was amazing.
Well, and some of the best, if we're being honest, some of the best run and longest run clubs in the country are always managed by women.
Yeah,
That's a solid point.
What's it called?
Zanies.
Zanies, the Comedy
Comedy
Works. Yeah, all those good, solid family-owned clubs. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't know, and it's a solid vibe. I think it is easier to when I talk about the store now, it is easier to get seen. It is easier to get in, but it is all on you, and that does make it ultimately harder. So like there's people that I know and I love that I think are very funny, and that just they can't get in because they're competing with everyone else from all across the country that are moving and all different levels and stuff. So it's like, yeah, man, it's one of the hardest times, but it is one of the chillest and funnest times to be at the store.
Yeah. No, it did really, like, the hang is really dope.
Yeah, I mean, we're fucking ripping in the back at Puffco's, doing
That's-
Rosdat, bro. It is like
It's a good time.
people hang on the back and they're like, "Oh, it used to be much livelier than this." I'm like, "Yeah, but we also get to just hang out." I chilled all night last night, smoked a bunch of weed, had College Boys delivered, did a set, and just relax. I'm like, this is the best.
That's
Like,
what
that's so
every
good.
green room I'm in control of is like, I'll buy what I call a road bong. Because the way I look at it, people are like, "Whoa, you look balling." You're like, "No, I used to drink. So I would spend 3 times as much every fucking night.
Yeah,
So I can buy a bong on this where I'm making, a nice living now, doing stand up. I can buy a bong and then give it to whatever cool feature or who I think deserves
Wants
it.
it, yeah.
And we get to smoke weed all weekend out of a bong in the green room instead of like rolling a joint or who's got a pipe. It's like, no, let's just fix this.
yeah.
And then you see it's because I'm also trying to spread that cannabis thing of like, there's a way this can be and should be done and accepted.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been
It's like
dreaming.
Snoop Dogg shouldn't be the only person who gets to smoke everywhere.
Yeah, 100%.
That's him and like I loved when Chappelle was doing his smoke cigarettes. I don't like cigarettes, but
I want to smoke weed like that.
that's where I was like, that's a cool way to abuse your fame. But I would do weed
We
like
hitting
that.
the Puffco on stage and shit. What are we at? Just so I know. Oh, sick. All right, cool. Can we do close out real quick and
Yeah,
then
sure.
we're good?
Want to break down that last one real quick?
Yeah, let's break down this last one because I know we hit it. And then
Yeah, no worries.
Is there anything you want to plug while we're getting ready to head out, dog?
Sorry, I was just making sure I wasn't in trouble at home.
Just anything you want to plug.
Oh yes, I have a special out that came out in the December. It's called Testify. It's available on YouTube on 800 Pound Gorilla's YouTube page. It's free, or you can pay for it if you want to, but just watch it. Whatever. It's really I'm proud of it. Like it's one of those where like I didn't put it out for money or anything. It's like an art piece. I talk about doing DMT, and I did it at the International Church of Cannabis in Denver. Have you been
Oh,
there?
I've been there. It's amazing.
That's that art.
Yep.
That's why the first time I stepped in, I was like, I'm going to do a special here. And it took a while to make it happen, but we did. And the director, John Diaz, is like a real director. He's not like a, stand-up director. It's like 3 cameras. You're like, you're not direct. Stop saying that you're
Yeah.
directing. Fuck. But he's like, he made it a thing where I was like, I have these ideas. He was like, yeah, we'll do this, this, and this. And I was like, oh, yeah, you can do that? He's like, yeah. And then we did this. An 800 Pound, I will toot their horn.
They're so good. They did my album.
It's what you want a label experience to be like, where they're like, here's your budget, here's what we're gonna do, and then you just get the fuck out of the way. do what you do. And you're like, really? Because I've had somewhere they're like, we want to eat it. And you're like, why? You're a money person.
Yeah. Just be a money guy.
Just be the money person.
Some people, money people, they just want to do other stuff too. And you're like, just be a money.
If you give me money, I'll just go away and be a chill person. Like the money, you know what I mean? Like you're the money person. So what do? You just give us money and then we'll give you more back. And you're like, cool. I don't want to be more, yeah, anyway. That's a whole side thing. Sorry, I just.
No. What do you want to break it down?
This is Black Diamond OG from Maven. It's going to be Blackberry Kush and Diamond OG. There's the only part of Blackberry Kush I got out of there is the Afghans, and there's a little bit of that nuttiness up front. But then as soon as it kind of hits your lips, it gets overwhelmed by that pine from the Diamond OG really quickly. And it's almost like super clean, like floor cleaner pine flavor.
Oh, yeah. This is the one we smoked before, right?
Mm-hmm. So you get a little bit of that nuttiness up front, but then it is like very quickly, as soon as you notice it, it gets overwhelmed by that pine. And it's super nice, super clean. And I've noticed I don't see a ton of OG dabs out there. I think a lot of them probably just don't yield the most. I've seen like wedding cakes and like triangle cushions and stuff that are super OG tasting, but I haven't seen like an OG in rosin in a long time at least.
Were you guys at the block party?
The Puffco, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I was trying to see you there. Damn.
Yeah, Frank was the old man in the wheelchair rolling around.
Man, I was gonna say too, like you were talking about like chill environments. Me and my two buds, one's a grower in Oregon. He came down, and it was like right before the Flatbush Zombies started. We were standing in that corner, where it kind of, and people were just moving about. And he's from Philly originally. He lives in Oregon now, so he's like kind of loud sometimes, just as a person. And he's a farmer, so they're just fucking loud. And he like raised his voice to just say something to us. And it startled everyone. And that's when we noticed, like, listen how quiet this party is. This gathering. There's thousands of people here. And it's like, you startled people by you. I was like, this is the chillest, coolest party I've ever fucking
Dude,
been
those
to.
Puffco, the block parties are sick.
Every
year I love them.
I was like, oh, we're never not coming to. I was like, this is the coolest fucking. Like, if you yelled right now, people would be like, are you okay?
Yeah,
Can we help you?
Very very compassionate. I love it.
It was just like, and I was like, but no one's drunk. It was like, I was like, this is perfect.
This is how parties should be.
And we're just downtown. Yeah. So, tip of the hat, you guys.
Yeah.
That.
Thank you so much, Billy. Thank you,
Anytime
JP.
you guys need someone.
Absolutely. You're
Fucking
going to
awesome.
be here all the time now. Thank you, Puffco. Thank you, Third Wheel. Thank you, everyone we had on the show. Have a good night, guys.
Bye.